The time is 1:15. Here is the news edited by Ramesh Peris, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The President says any government should maintain discipline among its members and it is unethical to be critical of government policies whilst being in government. The MOU to implement 2 special social security benefit schemes for the clergy signed under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The Minister of Finance says Sri Lanka will honour loan obligations on time. 629 new COVID cases identified on Tuesday, raising the overall COVID tally to 588,929. The Cabinet approves to purchase 500 buses for the SLTB and 750 jeeps for Sri Lanka Police from India. The Minister of Environment to cultivate 500 hectares of rubber to increase the forest cover. The national broadcaster celebrates its 55th anniversary after becoming a corporation. International news: North Korea launches unidentified projectile into sea. Sports news: cricket. Bangladesh beat New Zealand for first time in Test cricket. Local news in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has urged his ministers to stop being unethical when criticizing the government, stating ministers and state ministers should not work on personal agendas. President Rajapaksa, who was clearly exasperated at the recent remarks made by Sushil Premjayanta, where he allegedly criticized the government. The President had asked his cabinet of ministers on Monday night if it was ethical that while being in government, ministers and state ministers made comments which are critical of the government policies. The President said that any government should maintain discipline among its members and criticizing in public was not a solution. The Memorandum of Understanding for the implementation of the Buddhaput Maapiya Harasara and Buddhaput Harasara Puja social security benefit schemes were signed under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday at the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs. The MOU was signed between the Commissioner General of the Department of Buddhist Affairs, Sunanda Karya Perma, and the Chairman of the Social Security Board of Sri Lanka, Saman Hadaragama. The special pension scheme is being implemented for parents of Buddhist monks and bhikkhunis between the age of 25 and 59 for security during their eventide. The Minister of Finance, Basil Rajapaksa, states that Sri Lanka has to repay a loan of $6.9 billion in the year of 2022. The Finance Minister also stated that the present government is able to repay the loan properly. He said that the loan installments due up to now have been repaid without any problems and that the same policy will be followed in the future as well. The Minister further emphasized that while repaying loans, relief will be provided to the people and development activities will be continued in an orderly manner. According to Epidemiology Unit of the Health Ministry, 629 new COVID-19 cases were reported so far on Tuesday. According to the Epidemiology Unit report, at 7:35 p.m. Tuesday, a total of 588,929 COVID-19 cases have been reported since the beginning of the pandemic, while 12,603 infected patients are currently under medical care at hospitals and homes. 561,271 patients have fully recovered and being discharged from hospitals. Sri Lanka Tuesday reported 18 deaths, raising the total to 15,055. Meanwhile, according to the Epidemiology Unit report, so far total of 15,994,809 people have received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine and 13,849,314 have received the second dose. In addition, 4,114,182 have received the third booster dose. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Sri Lanka Insurance Motor Plus, the best option.
Continuing with more local news, the government has received the cabinet approval to procure 500 new buses for the Sri Lanka Transport Board and 750 jeeps for Sri Lanka Police, including 150 jeeps for the Police Special Task Force under the Indian line of credit. Approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was granted at their meeting held on the 8th January 2020 and 16th of November 2020. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal submitted by the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Public Security for awarding the procurement to Ashok Leyland Company of India and Mahindra Company of India. As per the recommendations furnished by the Standing Procurement Committee appointed by the Cabinet of Ministers. The Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation today marks its 55th anniversary after becoming a corporation. The Ceylon Broadcasting Corporation was officially established on 5th of January 1967. To mark the occasion, an all-night period chanting ceremony was held last night at the corporation's head office in Colombo with the participation of the chairman of the corporation, Hudson Samarasinghe, the Director General Chandrapal Lianage and the SLBC staff. An all-religious program took place earlier today at the Kumaratunga studio of the SLBC premises, which was broadcast live. Moreover, commencing from 2 p.m. today, a Buddhist sermon will be conducted at the Ananda Samarakon studio, which will also be aired live on FM 91.7 and 91.9 on the national service. The governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ajit Nivadkabra, says he has not ordered banks to forcibly convert the balances in their customers' forex accounts. Taking to his official Twitter account, he refuted that rumors spread by some disruptive elements claiming that the banks have been given directives to do so. The Wise Woman National Program was launched on Tuesday at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall in Colombo under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, with the intention of empowering women to the full potential and get their contribution to the economy. The percentage of women in the country is 52%. However, a survey has received that the share of female labor in the total population is as low as 30%. The objective of the program is to provide skills development and vocational training for women and get their contribution to the national economy. That ends local news.
In 200 meters, turn left.
This is not just my daily commute. I drive to power my nation's future. Sri Lanka Insurance Motor Plus introduces specialized motor insurance for you who drive our nation forward. Choose tailor-made insurance solutions. Up to 75,000 rupees claim settlements within 3 working hours. Exclusive discounts through Motor Plus loyalty rewards. Easy and 0% interest payment plans. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Secretary to the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Anil Jayasinghe, says the Ministry of Environment is preparing to cultivate 500 hectares of rubber for the first time to increase the forest cover in Sri Lanka to 30%. This program, based on a concept of the President, will be implemented this year under the guidance of the Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira. Dr. Jayasinghe further mentioned 2,000 million rupees have been set aside for this purpose and the need to work efficiently in this regard. Accordingly, the Ministry of Environment has planned to carry out the cultivation with 2 objectives. The first objective is to increase the forest cover in our country, and the second objective is to improve the living standards of the people. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the bus fare revision announced by the National Transport Commission comes into effect today. The bus fares have been increased by a percentage of 17.44%, except for the minimum fare, which has been increased by 3 rupees from 14 rupees to 17 rupees. That ends Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
World News headlines first. North Korea launches unidentified projectile into sea. Canada unveils agreements to compensate indigenous children. The UK's Prime Minister plans to ride out Omicron wave with no more curbs. World News in detail. The South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said North Korea has fired what has been described as an unidentified projectile into the sea. The Japanese Coast Guard, which first reported the launch, said it could potentially be a ballistic missile, but no confirmation has yet been given. The UN prohibits North Korea from ballistic and nuclear weapons tests. If unconfirmed, this would be the first such launch carried out by Pyongyang this year. The launch comes days after Mr. Kim said that Pyongyang would continue to strengthen its defense capabilities due to an increasingly unstable military environment on the Korean peninsula. Canada has reached agreements in principle to compensate indigenous children who were discriminated against and placed in the welfare system. Indigenous advocates waged a years-long fight for justice and reform to get Canada to abide by the 2016 Canadian Human Rights Tribunal ruling determined that the federal government had discriminated against Indigenous people in the provision of child and family services. In a statement on Tuesday, the federal government said 20 billion Canadian dollars would be allocated to First Nations children who were removed from their homes. Another 20 billion Canadian dollars will be rewarded long-term reform on the First Nations Child and Family Service Program. The United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he hopes England can ride out the current wave of COVID-19 without further restrictions. But he acknowledged part of the National Health Service would feel temporarily overwhelmed amid a surge of Omicron cases. The Prime Minister said there was a good chance he would not impose fresh measures and would recommend continuing the government's Plan B strategy. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. North Korea launches unidentified projectile into sea. Canada unveils agreements to compensate indigenous children. The UK's Prime Minister plans to ride out Omicron wave with no more curbs. That ends World News.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take coal out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
The Cabinet has granted approval to allocate 24 and 14 oil tanks of Trincomalee Oil Tank Complex to Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Lanka IOC, respectively, while remaining 61 oil tanks are to be developed under Trinco Petroleum Terminal Private Limited, with shares of CPC 51% and IOC 49%. The government said after reviewing the 3 existing agreements with the Indian government regarding the Trincomalee oil tank complex through diplomatic talks, the 2 neighboring countries has reached an agreement to implement a joint development project. That ends Development News.
Development News was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070-400-1928.
Moving on to sports news, cricket news. Bangladesh beat New Zealand for the first time in Test cricket with a sensational 8-wicket win in the first Test in Tauranga. The Kiwis started day 5 on 147 for 5 but lost 5 wickets for just 22 runs, with opener Will Young making 69 and pace bowler Ibadat Hossain taking 6 for 56. That left Bangladesh needing just 40 to win, which they patiently knocked off inside 17 overs. Meanwhile, the fourth Ashes encounter got underway at the SCG between arch rivals Australia and England earlier today. Australia won the toss and elected to bat first and soon asserted their dominance, reaching 121 runs after losing 3 wickets short while ago. England recalled Chris Broad, aged 35, to replace fellows seamer Ollie Robinson's in the only change to the England's 11 from the last week's third Test defeat. That ends Sports News.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Ecospinels, Sri Lanka's largest plastics recycler, equipped with one of only 2 plants in the world capable of creating polyester yarn directly from recycled PET plastic flakes, has significantly bolstered Sri Lanka's recycling capabilities by creating an ecosystem for recycling within the country. This year, the company is hoping the culmination of its significant investment will create a network of corporate partnerships and increasing consumer awareness. These efforts collectively seek to rise Sri Lanka's recycling rate of PET plastic from around 15% at present to 20% to 25% by the end of 2022. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
A government statement said that the Cabinet of Ministers had cleared a special goods and services tax law and changes to the value-added tax. A special GST consolidates several taxes on liquor, cigarettes, telecommunications, betting and gaming and vehicles, the government said. Sri Lanka's Attorney General had cleared the draft law to be published in the Government Gazette and presented to Parliament. That ends Economic News.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The weather report.
The Meteorological Department forecast showers or thunder showers to occur at times in Uva province and in Batticaloa, Ampara, Polonnaruwa, Matale and Nuvareli districts. Several spells of showers may occur in Trincomalee and Anuradhapura districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the western and sub-Ragavan provinces and in Kandy, Galle and Matale districts during the evening or night. That ends weather report. To wrap up the afternoon news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines. The President says any government should maintain discipline among its members and it is unethical to be critical of government policies whilst being in government. The MOU to implement 2 special social security benefit schemes for clergy signed under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The Minister of Finance says Sri Lanka will honour loan obligations on time. 629 new COVID-19 cases identified on Tuesday. That raises the overall COVID tally to 588,929. The Cabinet approved to purchase 500 buses for SLTB and 750 jeeps for Sri Lanka Police from India. The Ministry of Environment to cultivate 500 hectares of rubber to increase the forest cover. The national broadcaster celebrates its 55th anniversary after becoming a corporation. International news, North Korea launches unidentified projectile into sea. Sports news, cricket, Bangladesh beat New Zealand for first time in Test cricket. With that, we wrap up the afternoon news on Radio Sri Lanka.